What up, y'all? It's your boy, the insurance junkie, your fiduciary fella, the all-star advisor Alonzo Hall, aka your social media insurance broker. Back again today to weapon tap on your head with another ADH Wealth solution. Today, I'm rebroadcasting. I'm going to be rebroadcasting several of my podcasts or my webinars. But today, I'm going to rebroadcast the Built for Business, which was one that myself and Talani did together. So make sure you guys keep an eye out for it. And here we go. Single time I would walk into the studio to start shooting, the first thing that I would say is, uh, just going to give it a minute or two to allow for everyone to roll in. I do like to start these things promptly, only because I like to respect everyone's time. Thank you, everyone who showed up. If you will, check in the chat. We are going to open it up at the end for questions and answers. If you do not want to speak or be seen on camera, that's totally fine. You can just type in your question in the manner that I've showed you in the chat. Hello, Mr. Vendres. You're far from a dunce, sir. If you're here, you're a smart person. Smart people realize they don't know everything, and they seek out people who know what they don't know to get that information. All right. Just giving a few more minutes for people to roll in. Again, most of these things, uh, you do need to allow 5 or 10 minutes for people to come. So, in honor and respect of those who showed up on time or early, we do thank you and a wonderful salute in that manner. Now, give it another minute or two, and then we'll get started. Once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for showing up. Uh, and we will be intending on having many more of these. So this is the first of 2023, and this is the first of many. 2020. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you so much for appearing at our second official The Source Built for Business Owners, but our first event of 2023. So today, it's going to be fairly simple. We're just going to be going over some of the basics of what you need to know about retirement accounts and investment accounts. If you are interested in learning further details or getting an evaluation of your own, please consult with the representative or the advisor who invited you to this event. So without further ado, my name is Alonzo Hall. I'm a representative here with CG Wealth Solutions Group based out of New York City. I have approximately 15 years in the industry, where I started with a small company that a lot of you are probably familiar with called Aflac. From Aflac, I then moved to a larger company called Mutual of Omaha, where I cut my teeth in the concrete jungles of Wall Street, and then moved to stock brokeraging, where I found that that was a little bit too stressful. So I went back into the insurance and insurance portion of financial services to help people with protecting or identifying and protecting their health, lifestyles, and wealth. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over a little bit of brief information in terms of what retirement accounts are, and what they may mean to you. Now, this is not only from a business aspect, but it's also a personal aspect. Obviously, businesses are very personal, and we all enter into our businesses for one reason or another. Most of the time, that reason is to provide a lifestyle and a legacy for our families and our futures. So, without any further delay, let's go ahead and we'll pull up my first screen here. So as you can see, our first screen is telling you to take control of your personal pension income. So this is something that we often use with a lot of our clientele when we are reviewing their pension plans. Now, most people today are not familiar with a pension plan, as a lot of pension plans have been removed out of the industry. So now you may be used to a few of the other products that I'm going to go ahead and show you. So one would be something which is a qualified retirement plan. So now what is a qualified retirement plan? Well, a qualified retirement plan is a program that is implemented and maintained by an employer or an individual for the primary purpose of providing retirement benefits. And it meets specific rules which are spelled out by the Internal Revenue Service. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those details of what that qualified retirement plan entails. So if you look here for an employer sponsored qualified retirement plan, it's going to be established by the employer for the exclusive benefit of the employees and their beneficiaries. Obviously, the plan must be in writing and it has to be communicated to all of the company employees. The assets cannot be used other than the exclusive benefit of the employees or their beneficiaries until the plan is terminated and all the obligations to the employees and their beneficiaries have been satisfied. Now, plan contributions or benefits cannot exceed specified amounts. And we'll speak about that a little bit later as we get deeper into the weeds of all of the other products that we have available to you. So, the plan must also meet certain eligibility, coverage, vesting, and minimum funding standards. It has to provide for distributions that meet specified distribution requirements. It's also got to prohibit the assignment or alienation of plan benefits. And ladies and gentlemen, please feel welcome to, just for your own reference, if you even don't remember at the end, your questions to type into the chat. So now also the death benefits may be included inside of the plan, but only to the extent that they are incidental as defined by law. So a major question is, why do employers comply with these requirements and establish qualified retirement plans? And the answer is to take advantage of tax advantages offered by qualified retirement plans. So as most of you here may be entrepreneurial minded, or currently business owners, or even venturing into being business owners, you want to concern yourself with tax saving strategies. So one of the things that we offer to a lot of our clients is, not only do we mention, listen, we're not just here to sell you an insurance policy. We're not just here to sell you a retirement plan. We're not just here to throw you into an investment. Okay. We want to help you to identify and protect your lifestyle. And we want to help you with tax maximization strategies. So one of those strategies is things like this. Okay. So the next option that you may have as a business owner is something called a DB, or a defined benefit plan. Now, you guys may be familiar with these. Sometimes you may get it in like a disability policy where someone is injured and unable to go back to work, so they are forced to retire. So the defined benefit plan will actually be a specific benefit amount that is paid to you for a specific period of time. Most companies nowadays are not participating in defined benefit plans, but they are participating in something called a defined contribution plan. So the major difference between those we'll discuss shortly, but let's take a look at what a defined benefit plan is and what it consists of. So a defined benefit plan promises that a specific benefit will be paid at retirement. The promised retirement benefit can be either a flat dollar amount that is provided to all employees, or more commonly, a benefit that is determined according to a formula. The annual employer contributions required to provide the promised retirement benefits are then actuarially determined. So these are actually calculated where you put in X and it's going to give the participant X dollars for X amount of time. So we'll take a look at the benefit formulas, because there are formulas that are used in calculating what you will receive when you are in or participating or providing a benefit, a defined benefit for your employees. So there is a flat dollar amount. So this means that all plan participants receive the same flat dollar amount at retirement. For example, $300 a month for the rest of their life. Okay. There is a flat percentage, which means that each participant receives a fixed percentage of their compensation as a retirement percentage, right? So as you see here, it says, for example, 20% of their average compensation for 3 consecutive highest paid years. You'll hear this defined benefit plan is actually offered by things like municipalities. If you're a police officer, a firefighter, sometimes in the medical care field, you'll also see these things. And they'll usually call it your big 3, the highest 3 years that you've earned. And if you're an employee, the benefit to you is those 3 years that you put in a lot of overtime, well, that then calculates towards your big three. As the employer, which is what most of you are here for, is the likelihood that there are, again, tax benefits, right, to providing these for your employees. So one of the things, like I said, for the personal level, we like to teach our clients that we're here to identify and protect your lifestyle. But what's one thing that employees prefer over a salary? And that's features and benefits. So what we like to do is we like to help you attract and retain quality employees, because many people that I know across this country will gladly give up X amount of dollars in salary for the security, knowing that they're going to get things like health care, things like a defined benefit contribution plan, if it's availed to them. So again, someone with an average compensation of $75,000 would then receive a $15,000 annual pension benefit. Now, there's also the unit benefit. So each plan participant receives a flat dollar amount or a percentage of compensation for each completed year of service. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just check here. I believe I have a few people that need to be let in. Give me 1 second here. I see some new participants. Sorry about that. Okay, so each plan participant receives a flat dollar amount or a percentage of compensation for each completed year of service, right? So $25 a month for benefit for each completed year of service. And so we'll pay a $500 monthly benefit to someone who worked 20 years on the job. Alternatively, 2% of monthly compensation for each completed year of service would result in a $2,000 monthly pension benefit for someone making $5,000 a month who had that 20 years of service. And the advantages, okay? So if the business has older, higher paid employees, including the owner employees, a defined benefit plan makes it possible to shelter large amounts of current business income and provide meaningful retirement benefits to older employees who are fewer years away from retirement. So again, when we're looking at tax strategies, this is something that you may have heard of called a tax shelter. So you actually have the opportunity to shelter yourself from taxes. Give me 1 second here. Okay. And so some of those, I'll be right back. Let me just, wow, a lot of people are popping in here now. Okay. And so some of the disadvantage of that are you have the administration of a DB plan, which can be quite complex, right? It's going to require actuarial reviews, generally once every 2 years, in order to determine how much you have to contribute as the employer to provide the promised retirement benefits. So remember, you're promising a specific amount to the person, which is the employee. And then the employer also assumes the risk of the investment performance. Okay. So if the plan investments perform below the assumed rates of return, you as the employer may have to increase those contributions in order to provide any of those promised benefits. Now, I do want to leave this kind of fluid. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pause for a moment and see if anyone has any questions, concerns, or comments. And feel welcome to unmute yourself.
Really quick, I don't have a question, but I am waiting to get people in. So I don't know if you see anything pending on your side. It shows from my end that you're in another meeting, but it won't allow access to.
It shows that I'm in another meeting.
Yeah, when with the link that you sent for this event. So I don't know if you have like a time cutoff, or do you see anybody waiting?
I do not.
Okay, that's not good. Right. Hold on.
That's strange. And we have to build it as we fly, right? Technology is
Do you see anything now or no?
I do.
Okay, could you try?
I see one person.
Yeah. Are you able to add or no?
I did add him. It's I see just the one person who joined. I don't
Mm,
see anyone else.
okay, I not sure what's going on.
Technology, right?
Yeah. We'll just keep chugging along then. It's okay. I don't want to take up too much time with this.
That's fair. Don't worry, I'm a little bit long-winded, so I can take up a lot of time. And ladies and gentlemen, again, if you do have any questions, I'll give a brief moment if you'd like to unmute. Otherwise, you can always post it in the chat. Talani, or Alana, do you see anyone in the chat with questions?
I'm checking. No.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and continue here. So close the chat for a moment. So again, the employer, which would be you, the entrepreneurial-minded person, or the business owner, or even the self-employed person, would assume those investment risks. And if the investment does not perform as planned, then you may have to increase the contributions in order to provide the promised benefit amount. And this is one of the reasons that you'll see that a lot of employers outside of municipalities no longer offer a defined benefit plan. Now we're going to take a look at what's called DC, or defined contribution plan. So now in a defined contribution plan, the employer makes a stated annual contribution to the plan, and then it's allocated to the plan participants' accounts and invested on their behalf. Now, when a plan participant retires, the amount of his or her retirement benefit is based on the value of that account at retirement. So there's a few different types of defined contribution plans. And again, these are also offered by things like banks and a lot of governmental employees, right? With governmental employees like post office, you'll hear it as a TSP, or a thrift savings plan. Even again, in the medical field, you'll hear thrift savings plan or a TSP. Military definitely has a TSP. I work with a lot of federal employees, as do a lot of my team, and these are some of the things that we experience there. So you'll notice that it starts with a money purchase plan, or a money purchase pension plan. So employer contributions are required and are generally based on a fixed percentage of employee compensation, such as 10% of compensation. So again, it's going to be a defined contribution. So as opposed to a defined benefit where they tell you you are definitely going to get X amount of dollars for X period of time, this way they say, well, we are definitely going to contribute X amount of dollars. It does relieve a little bit of that investment risk on the employer's standpoint. So then the second would be a savings or a thrift plan, again, a TSP or a thrift savings plan. And I'm very familiar that my colleague, Mr. Mitchell, is probably familiar with a thrift savings plan from having been a member of the wonderful police force, and the military. So thank you for your service. And if we do have any military service members in the room, salute and thank you guys as well for your service. So as we see here, mandatory employee contributions, which the employer then matches to a stated degree, are usually required in a savings or a thrift plan. So for example, the employer may match dollar for dollar the employee contributions up to 3% of the compensation. So since mandatory employee contributions in a savings or thrift plan are not tax deductible. These plans are less popular than the 401k, which provide before tax employee contributions. We will get to the 401k shortly. I am going to speed this up myself a little bit, just because I do want to allow time for everyone to actually ask their questions. Let's see, we have something in the chat here. Let me just see. Waiting room participants. I don't see anyone waiting in the waiting room yet. Yes, I do. Okay. So bear with me. I'm just letting everyone in. We're gonna build it as we fly, ladies and gentlemen. It's not as simple as I thought to run a chat and go at the same time. Okay, am I able to let this person in? Admit. It will not let them in. Why not? There we go. Okay, so as we continue. So then you have target benefit plans. So while classified as a defined contribution plan, a target benefit plan is a hybrid plan. As in a DB plan or defined benefit plan, annual employer contributions are based on the amount needed to provide a target retirement benefit. You might know those as target date funds. For example, in a lot of retirement accounts, most people just put it as of today, they're probably putting it in the 2035 fund or the future 2040 fund at this point. People who are looking to retire in the next less than 20 years. Okay. So you're going to have that retirement benefit using an assumed rate, which produces larger contributions for older employees. Now, the plan then operates like a money purchase pension plan, with the employer making the required annual contribution and the employee receiving a retirement benefit determined by the value of his or her own account at retirement. So some of the advantages are that DC plans tend to be easier to set up, to administer, and to explain to the employees. The employee assumes the risk of the investment and performance, and the employer's only obligation is to make the contributions required by the plan. Some of the disadvantages are, since the DC plan or defined contribution plan tends to favor younger employees who've got a longer time period in which their retirement accounts can grow, it may not be possible with a defined or a DC plan to provide a substantial retirement benefit to older owner employees or even key employees who have fewer years until retirement. So next, we're going to look at something called a profit sharing plan. Okay, so a profit sharing plan is not required to have a definitely determinable benefit or contribution. As a result, contributions to profit sharing plans can vary from year to year at the discretion of the employer. Now, while the employer is not required to make contributions to the plan each year, there must be a recurring and substantial contribution in order for the future plan to retain its qualified retirement plan status. Okay. Now, while the amount of the annual contribution to a profit sharing plan can vary from year to year, once a contribution is made to the plan, it must be allocated to the accounts of participants. Looks like I got to admit someone else. In a uniform, non-discriminatory manner, where it is invested on their behalf. Now, when a plan participant retires, the amount of his or her retirement benefit is then based on the value of the participant's account at retirement. So, profit sharing plan contributions. So the profit sharing plan document specifies how contributions to the plan will be determined. There's considerable flexibility available in this regard. For example, annual contributions can be based on a specified percentage of net profits, or it can be equal to the amount by which profits exceed a specified dollar amount, or it can be equal to an amount determined by the board of directors each year. So you might find a profit sharing plan inside of something like a not-for-profit organization, like a church, right? This is definitely something that you may find there, or even like a local library. Now, some of the advantages are that contributions are based on business profitability and left to the discretion of the board of directors. Now, again, when I say not-for-profit and business profitability, you may think that's kind of skewed, but not-for-profits are not in the business of not making money. They are just not in it to make a profit. So generally at the end of the year when they are dealing with their taxes, and this is not tax advice, make sure to consult your tax professional about that. However, at the end of the fiscal year, when they are filing their taxes, generally they're going to offload a lot of funds into a multitude of different avenues so that they don't show profits. But for example, the CEO of Goodwill definitely brings home a hefty annual salary. The employee assumes the risk of investment performance, and the employees who have an opportunity to share in company profits may be better motivated employees. Again, like I said, one of the things that we teach you is how to attract and retain quality employees. Why? Because when you have great benefits, people are willing to forego salary, right? I'm not worried about if I work at McDonald's $15 an hour, if I know I've got profit sharing, great health insurance, and things that I may not be paying for, even if you're taking a few dollars out of my check. These are things that are going to set me up so that I can live the rest of my life comfortably. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so some of the disadvantages here are since profit sharing plans tend to favor, again, younger employees who have a longer time in which their retirement accounts can grow, it may not be possible with a profit sharing plan to provide a substantial retirement benefit to those older owner employees or those key employees. So moving on, something that we're all familiar with and we hear all too often is the 401k plan. So a 401k plan is a type of profit sharing plan that allows employees to choose between receiving current compensation and being taxed on it, or deferring compensation into that 401k and deferring tax on it through a coda or a cash or deferred arrangement, which is what most people do. And when you do a coda, what that does is that lowers your annual taxable income, which is why most people like it. Now, a lot of people dislike 401ks for another reason. It'll probably be here in the disadvantages. But again, one of those disadvantages is that if you forego the taxes today, you're going to have to pay those taxes as regular income in the future, not as capital gains. We'll discuss that later. So, employers frequently make a matching contribution equal to some percentage of the employee's elective salary deferral. A 401k plan can also provide for profit-sharing contributions made by the employer and allocated to the accounts of all plan participants in a uniform, non-discriminatory manner. So plan participants are usually able to allocate their 401k contributions among the various investment alternatives available in the plan, which most people are very unaware of. Now, also, you need to be aware that at your job, you will have a advisor such as myself, whose job it is to actually explain and help walk the employees through their investment options or their allocation options. However, most people just put it in a target date fund and kind of leave it because when you mention big numbers or even those numbers, people's eyes start to glaze over and they don't want to do too much brain work. They'd rather just leave it to me, who put in my 10,000 hours to understand this stuff completely. So the amount of the participant, the amount a participant's retirement benefit is then based on the value of the participant's account at retirement. So contributions to a 401k typically arise from one or more of these sources: the salary reduction, where the employee decides to take that coda, a matching or an employee match, which is what most people are going to be looking for, right? So the employer agrees to match a percentage of the employee's elective salary deferral, right? So the typical match is a percentage. For example, 50% for each dollar deferred by the employee, or a profit sharing contribution. So the employer makes a profit sharing contribution, which each employee can take in cash and then defer it to the 401k, or a combination of the two. So some of the advantages are that both employers and employees can make retirement plan contributions on a pre-tax basis, and the employee directs how his or her 401k is invested, and they assume the risk of that investment performance. The disadvantage is that some 401ks are more involved to administer than other types of QRPs, or qualified retirement plans, and 401ks tend to be more advantageous for younger employees with more time available until retirement. Why is that? Again, the younger you are and the younger you start, when time is on your side, time is on your side. Now, one of the disadvantages that they did not mention here about the 401k is that it's very expensive to administer. An advisor like myself, an advisor like Talani, an advisor like Alana, an advisor like Gregor, an advisor like Jonathan, who are all people who are on my team, an advisor like Charles, who is the principal of our company, is going to charge you quite a hefty fee for administering your plan. Generally, it may be a percentage of all of the assets that are under management. But we generally require that initially upfront, and that just comes from whatever firm we're putting that money in. For example, Prudential or Charles Schwab. So now there's something also called a Roth 401k, which is an option. I'm going to kind of speed through this option here. So basically, pay now or pay later. So with the availability of a Roth 401k, if the 401k plan permits, employees can now choose to contribute all or a portion of their 401k plan elective salary deferrals to a Roth 401k account. So the Roth 401k is similar to a Roth IRA, in that contributions are made with after-tax dollars. So the contributions are not excluded from your current income. So that means that you're going to pay taxes on those dollars today. However, the benefit is that now in your future, when you're in your retirement years, you don't have to pay taxes on something as if you were working, right? I'm sure we've all had jobs, and people have heard the term, the more you make, the more they take. Well, that ends up happening. And let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, tax rates are likely to raise. And most people don't want to be in a predicament where they are 67, 68, 75 years old, and they now need to go work at Walmart because they've ran through their 401k, which pays out something called period certain. We can talk about that later. So in addition, if the 401k, Roth 401k plan account grows tax-free, and it has that Roth tax advantage. So qualified distributions from a Roth 401k are received completely free of your federal income tax. A qualified distribution is one that is made more than 5 years after the account is established, and you have to be at least 59 and a half, and that stands true for all qualified retirement plans. The only caveat to that is if you're disabled and you're told that you can't go back to work. So it offers you the choice of paying your taxes later. You can also pay your tax now, or you can split your elective salary deferrals. So I only have 2 more slides to go through, but I really want to leave some time for what everybody is here for, which is the basics of the investments, right? The retirement accounts are kind of dull and boring, but I'm actually excited when Talani gets to speaking about our investments. So now we're going to talk about something for those self-employed individuals or those who are the business owners. So an SEP is a employer-funded IRA, or an individual retirement account. So you can actually buy an IRA from an insurance representative or an RIA, registered investment advisor. It's likely that you're better off buying your IRA from an investment advisor or insurance agent as opposed to the bank. So they're provided for each participating employee. And the cool thing is you can kind of do an executive carve out with an SEP. Beautiful thing is there are S Corp strategies. And if you are paying for this through the name of the business, you can actually put for yourself If you're the self-employed individual, you can lower your annual income by approximately 61,000 by stuffing up to 61,000 into an SEP IRA, whereas a traditional IRA has a maximum of 6,000. It probably doesn't say that in my slide. Sometimes, I try to put as much legal jargon in my slides as possible. So let's see here. The employer makes contributions to these SEP IRAs on a discretionary basis. So the plan has fewer IRS reporting and disclosure requirements and tends to be a lot easier to administer than other types of qualified retirement plans. So let's take a look at some of the advantages. SEPs have minimal administrative and reporting requirements. The employer has flexibility to whether to contribute to the SEP each year and has until its tax filing deadline to make those SEP contributions. The employer directs how his or her IRA is invented and assumes the risk of investment performance. So again, the employee does not have to assume that investment risk. Now, the disadvantage is that virtually all the employees do have to be covered by an SEP. But since an SEP contributions are made to an IRA owned by the employee, vesting is immediate. Unlike a lot of these other programs where your vesting happens after between 5 and 14 years of service on the job, day one, you're vested. And SEPs tend to be more advantageous for, again, the younger individual. So now we're going to look at a simple plan or a savings incentive match plan for employees. Okay, so a simple retirement plan can be set up by employers with 100 or fewer employees for the purpose of enabling employees to, again, defer a portion of their salary on a before tax basis to a retirement plan. So employers must also make a matching contribution up to specified limits. So there are a few different types of simple plans. You have a simple IRA, the simple 401k. Okay, and some of the things here are you can't make a deferral more than 3%, non-elective contribution up to 2%, and you have to, whether it be full-time or part-time, have in at least 3 quarters made at least $5,000 or worked 10,000 hours. So the simple 401k operates pretty much like a regular 401k. With those vesting requirements. However, the employer that adopts the simple 401k doesn't have to comply with the top-heavy, non-discriminatory compliance, right? So you don't have to not carve out certain employees. Maybe you don't want the janitor to have it. You only want the key holding managers. So some of the advantages are simple plans have minimal administration and reporting requirements. Owner employees and other highly paid employees are not restricted as to the amount that they can contribute, as you are restricted in a traditional 401k due to low participation in the 401k by lower paid employees. The employee directs how his or her contributions are invested and assumes the employee takes the investment risk. Now, some of the disadvantages are almost all of your employees are eligible to participate in a simple plan. All the simple plan contributions, including those made by the employer, vest immediately to the employee. So the disadvantage as the employer is somebody can come as soon as they contribute and you make their contributions and they only work for you for a year and leave, you got to give them their money. And simple plans tend to be, again, more advantageous for the younger employee. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know I've been blabbing for a little while. That's it from me. I will go ahead and pause there, and I will allow Talani to open up and get to speaking. We're probably going to go a little longer than to 6 o'clock because I want to leave it open for a little bit of Q&A. And without further ado, Talani, you can well, let me let you guys know about how amazing this young lady is. So she is the owner operator of a farmers insurance agency called the Granger Agency. She holds multiple securities licenses. Her Series 663 and 7. So she definitely is familiar with corporate investments, as she used to have a career with Charles Schwab. Unfortunately, they were not growing as fast as she is, and she was outperforming them. So she decided to branch out and become independent. So I'm not going to brag or gush over her too much longer. I'll go ahead and leave the floor open to you. And without further ado, Miss Talani Granger.
Well, thank you. That was a great introduction. I feel like I should have that everywhere I go, right? But I appreciate you. So I wanted to make sure when we're doing this webinar that I'm not just talking at you guys. So just to get a little bit of interaction, can you just shoot a message in the chat just to, hey, how are you? It's something to see you guys interacting. Just want to make sure that we all are able to communicate with each other. Typically, I have a general presentation, but with this is our first time really talking about investments. I wanted to thank you, Brian. Love it. Peace to you. But I also wanted to make sure I had an idea of where everybody is at in their investing level. And if we have some traders, if we know the difference. Hey, Coach K, thank you for commenting. So really quick, how many of you guys would consider yourself pretty savvy on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, I'm an expert, I do day trading, I'm in the options and futures, or you're more in the beginning stages, like you have a retirement account, you know it's invested, but you're not quite sure into what. Maybe you even know how to place a trade. You know the difference between a mutual fund, a stock, a bond. Okay, we got a beginner. Okay, cool. Got some beginners in here. So do you guys have brokerage accounts? So that's going to be an account that you place trades in. That's not a retirement account. So that'll be your taxable accounts, essentially. Okay, you're with Fidelity. Okay, no, okay. So there's 2 different types of accounts where most people generally trade in. That's the brokerage account and your retirement account. And as we know, Alonzo went through quite a few different ones. Okay, personal retirement account, perfect. So within all retirement accounts, they're tax sheltered when you place a trade. So that means if you made, let's see, good example. Who you guys remember what happened with GameStop and Reddit when GameStop was trading at, like, I don't know, maybe $16 and then shot all the way up to $500? So an example of that would be GameStop was in your retirement account and you sold those shares, you wouldn't have to pay capital gains tax on that. That means it's tax sheltered, right? When it's in a regular brokerage account, that's when you have to pay taxes on it. So those are the 2 main type of accounts. Most of you guys have retirement accounts from the look of the chat here, which is great. So you don't have to worry about that capital gains. But within that retirement account, usually your employer, or if you're self-employed, you usually have an option of different investments. How many of you guys are familiar with that list, or you've seen it, or you've heard about it? Shoot me a message in the chat. I don't want to talk at you. I want to talk to you. So interact with me. Come off of mute if you need to. But let me know kind of what are some things that you see within your account, retirement options. Do we know the difference between a mutual fund and a stock? I'll start there. Can anybody tell me what a mutual fund is versus a stock? Okay, cool. Got a couple of mutual funds. That's going to be your most common investment choice within a retirement account. A lot of companies will set that up for people who are kind of risk adverse, right? And it helps a lot with that, right? So with mutual funds, they have a combination of different investments within it. So they have a kind of a portfolio plan manager, right? who goes and handpicks maybe a bunch of different stocks, some treasuries, some bonds. They might have a little bit of money in cash, and they pack all that together to create a mutual fund. Whereas a stock is just a share that you purchase and you own that little piece of the company. So I always explain to my kids when we're out driving, like, hey, we can go buy McDonald's, right? You could be the owner of McDonald's, or we could go get a burger. Like, which one do you want to do, right? And that's kind of how that stock works. When you're buying a stock, you're actually literally buying a piece of a company. And the bond is the exact opposite. So if you're familiar with a bond or you ever heard of that before, a bond is literally you're buying a debt. So you're pretty much taking on somebody's debt and they're paying you interest on it until it matures. I love that. Yeah. So mutual funds are pretty cool, especially if you're just getting started, because they have a lot of different ways that you can set it up. So how many of you guys have heard of target date funds? You might have seen that in your retirement accounts, and it might have like the 2030 or 2035 or the 2025, right? For us who are getting ready to retire, I wish. But yes. So those target date funds are going to be set up to be more risky, right? And when I say more risk, it's going to be invested more in stocks the further you are from that target date. So if we do have somebody who is retiring in 2 years and they have their money in a 2025 target date fund, that means that mutual fund is going to be built of more cash, more treasury bonds, more really secure investments where you're not seeing that fluctuation of the market. Whereas somebody who's going to be retiring in maybe 20, 30 years, their target date fund is going to be heavily invested in different types of stock and different sectors. So I didn't pull up anything just because I wanted to really gauge where everybody was at. But have you seen like when you're kind of looking through that stuff, you see the small cap, large cap markets? Have any of you guys seen anything like that before? Alonzo, please feel free to chime in as well. I see you nodding your head, so that is great. Okay, so how many of you guys know what does that mean? Like, have you ever like stopped and been like, okay, what does that mean? Is it associated with risk, company size? What do you guys think that means?
Is it market capitalization or the revenues of the investment?
So with that, when you see like small cap, large cap funds, things like that, they're actually referring to the size of the companies that it's invested in. So there's going to be different markers, right? Like, have you ever heard of a blue chip stock? When you hear the term blue chip, we're talking about Fortune 500 companies. We're talking about Disney Channel, our Nike Disney Channel. You can tell I have kids. Disney, right? Our Nike corporation. Those are our blue chip stocks. Those are going to be our large cap companies, and there's specific numbers, but I have to look right on Investopedia, which is a great source. Still, I use it to this day. But it'll give you a breakdown of what those numbers really mean. But if you see small cap, that means you're investing in a stock or a company that is going to be smaller. Yep, exactly. Perfect. Yep. They're going to be smaller. They might typically be startup companies. They're going to be really volatile, right? You're going to be able to see that price jump around based off of, the performance and the earnings of what that company is doing. And if you're generally just trying to look for something that is appropriate within your retirement account, there's a couple of things that I would suggest to you. And the first thing is, what is your risk tolerance? So when I say risk tolerance, what do you guys think about pertaining to your money, right? What do you think that is when I say risk tolerance? All right, now you guys talk back.
Don't be afraid, folks.
I would say peace, Zoe, and peace, Kalani. I would say that basically risk tolerance is what can you afford in terms of disposable income? What can you afford to? What kind of money can you put at risk in terms of investments with the goal of making that money grow? How much of that capital are you able to put on the line? And if you lose, it doesn't affect your lifestyle in terms of ways of living in a meaningful way. You can take the loss and you still be okay.
Yes. So that is absolutely one side of a risk of having risk tolerance, right? So what is affordable to you is a major factor, but sometimes you could be a millionaire and you just can't stomach losing a lot of money, right? Like sometimes you have, say you have $300,000 in your retirement account and your portfolio manager puts it into one of those small cap emerging market super volatile stocks. You may not be able to stomach that. Even though you have all this money, you have a 30-year timeline, you have plenty of time to make it back. The other side of that coin is what could you mentally and emotionally tolerate, right? Because we have to understand the market fluctuates. When you're dealing with somebody, especially an individual who's handling your money, they should understand your needs for liquidity, but also what can you tolerate that won't make you wake up at night, right? If you're not comfortable with that big risk, we don't want to put you in that type of investment. So when you're looking on your own, simple things to look at is, let me just take a look at this chart, right? So usually mutual funds will have a pie chart associated with them, and it will tell you the different sectors or sections that it is broken up into. The more you're in stocks, the more volatile it is going to be. That's just kind of the name of the game with stocks. To kind of break that down further, if you have stocks that are more so those small cap funds or emerging markets, you know that those are also going to be a bit more volatile because they're new. If you're looking at stocks and they're large cap and then you see maybe there's some bonds or treasury notes, you know that is a little more of a conservative mix, but you also will have different options within there. So within retirement accounts, usually fund managers will offer you, I don't know, 10 to 15 different type of mutual funds. You can choose as many as you like, or you can say that you want to be self-directed. That is usually an option at some companies. And from there, you can really start to break things down a little more. You can choose that mutual fund, or maybe you can put money into stocks. But the more concentrated you are in just one area, the bigger the risk is, right? Like, have you ever heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket? That's exactly how it is with the market. So if you're looking at a mutual fund, specifically, since we're talking about retirement accounts, the more concentrated that mutual fund is, even if it's heavily within the US or overseas, that is a type of risk that you want to be mindful of and take a look at what's going on in the economy as well and see if you can tolerate that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Absolutely.
Well,
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, I knew you guys could talk. Here we go. Love to hear it. So with that, just I don't want to like overflow with a ton of information, especially since I don't have a visual to add to it, because that can get really confusing. But is there anything specifically related to what you've seen within your retirement account that maybe you're just not sure about, or if you have specific questions on what are you looking at when you place a trade, right? Have any of you guys ever entered your own trade or like order to sell some of your investments before?
No, not me.
Okay. So it kind of depends on your platform for sure. but it's pretty straightforward, right? So if you ever hear the words or the term market order, what do you guys think that is?
Not sure.
So with that, with market order, that means sell it right now, whatever price it's at. Whatever they're doing, I want it gone right now. Get it out. Give me the best price fast, right? And with Alonzo being a New Yorker, market order is like how I think of it, how I associate it, right? Like, okay, it's market order, it's fast. I would love that. If you guys have questions and you want to interact, I'm totally okay with you guys unmuting for sure.
Yeah, please feel welcome. This is a relaxed environment. So if you have, questions, concerns, or comments, we're done presenting. That's why she's asking you guys the questions. Only
Right,
type if you're uncomfortable.
Perfect.
Definitely. I wanna talk to you guys and really kind of gauge where you're at in your investment journey instead of just kind of throwing a bunch of information, because I forget stuff if people do that to me. So
Oh, it happens. Don't worry. So to add in with some of the things, and this is some of the things I've done in the past with
Hey, Ghost Media, what's going on? So this is actually a restream of one live stream that I did last year. So I will be doing more of these in the future. Stay attached to my channel, and you'll have more of those. At this point, I'm going to end this. Thank you guys for coming in. Hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and as always, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links are in the description of this video. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, wipe ass, work in progress every day and see success. And when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept the challenge. Salute.